Welcome to Chad the Homecare Guy. Real conversations about aging, home care, and the decisions families face every day. Hosted by Chad Fisher, founder of Avail Home Care. Because caring for the people you love shouldn't be confusing. Let's get started.
All right, everybody. Hey, this is Chad the Homecare Guy, back to you with Chad the Homecare Guy podcast. And today I am with a friend of mine, Keely Maglaughlin, and she is the president, CEO, all those things, I'm sure, of Advent Financial. And you are based out of St. Pete?
I am in St. Pete.
Out of St. Pete? Okay. Well, welcome. Thank you. And this is how I start all of my podcasts, with asking a little bit about where you're from and how you got in, or how you got here, and then how you got into doing what you're doing today.
Right. Okay. So I am from the Northeast, so Maryland, Pennsylvania. I was born in Southern Pennsylvania, York. And then I moved to Maryland for about 10 years and then back to Pennsylvania. I lived in Lancaster, Amish country.
Wow.
But I was in Lancaster City, so not really Amish country.
Not as Amish.
Yeah. But everybody thinks Amish country when I say Lancaster. And then I moved here about 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how did you end up starting this business?
So the story is kind of crazy. I didn't start the company.
Okay.
I was 19 years old and I answered an ad in the paper.
Oh.
Imagine that. Yes. And I showed up for an interview for kind of like a part-time assistant position for the owner
Okay.
of a mortgage company. And he was doing purchase, refis, that sort of thing. And so I was the first person that he interviewed, and he interviewed, I think, like 55 people.
Wow.
He was very thorough.
Yeah.
And he ended up hiring me. I joke that he could have saved himself a lot of time if he would have just hired me on the spot. And then I just kind of worked my way up the food chain. And several years in, he offered to sell me a portion of ownership.
Sure.
So I took out a loan, I bought in,
Really?
became a co-owner. And I was in my early 20s at that time.
Yeah.
In 2001 is when we did our first reverse mortgage and just kind of added it to our repertoire.
Okay.
And then I took out another loan, bought a higher percentage at a certain point. And then maybe last year I bought him out completely.
Wow.
So most of my adult life is
You've been
all
doing this?
Yeah.
Wow. And taking loans out.
Yeah. So now I own the company with no loans.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness.
That's cool.
But that's it. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So let's talk about reverse mortgage 101, we'll call it at this point. What exactly is a reverse mortgage, and what is it designed to help?
Sure. So my very quick answer on what a reverse mortgage is, it is a home loan for borrowers 55 and older with delayed repayment.
Uh-huh.
So the money given doesn't have a mortgage payment associated to it,
Okay.
but it's not free. It does have to be repaid, but it gets repaid when the homeowner no longer lives in the property or no longer owns it. So maybe they sell the home or they've passed away or something like that. So a mortgage is recorded against the property. No payments are made.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I always thought this was an interesting topic.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that people hear the term reverse mortgage, especially in the senior industry. We've all heard this term, but I don't think anybody really knows what a reverse mortgage is or how it works.
Right.
So-
They're very misunderstood.
Yeah.
And a lot of people's knee-jerk reaction is like, I would never do that, or I would never allow my parents to do that, or something.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that reaction. So aging in place, how can reverse mortgage help a senior remain safely in their home? And can it help make aging in place more financially realistic for them?
Right. So that's like a big initiative of mine, is because, I took care of my grandmother in Pennsylvania and Lancaster for about 15 years. She had dementia, and she did not own our home. She lived in my house. So we didn't have the option of doing a reverse mortgage, and
Sure.
it's pretty expensive.
Okay.
As we know. So a reverse mortgage can be a great tool to be used for folks who want to stay in their home. They don't want to go to an ALF,
Yeah.
but maybe they shouldn't be home alone 24/7, or they have medical needs that we need somebody to step in to help for.
Yeah.
So a reverse mortgage can be the financial tool to that.
Yeah. And I probably should lean on this more when I'm out talking to people who can't afford us or believe that they can't afford us. There really is multiple ways to help people out. It's just having these resources to understand where to plug them in and tell people they do have these resources. I mean, there really is opportunities out there if people understand what these things are.
Right.
So-
And I work with a lot of in-home care providers
Yep.
as a resource, because I'm sure the number one reason you lose a client is because they say they can't afford
finances. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Which is how I met you. So
right, exactly.
how can home equity potentially help pay for a caregiver? What does that look like? What about expenses like, the average, I think, is $35 to $40 an hour for home care. So what does that look like when they decide, yes, this might be the right tool for me? How do they go about moving forward with that?
Right. So if you think about a reverse mortgage, kind of similar to a HELOC or a home equity line of credit, the biggest difference is going to be no mortgage payment. So a senior citizen on fixed income who's already struggling to pay for in-home care, maybe their income doesn't support an additional monthly payment of a HELOC.
Right.
That's where a reverse mortgage can come into play, because we can set up the loan as a line of credit, and people can pull the money out as they need it instead of like a lump sum into their bank account.
Right.
And so that money can just sit there as a line of credit, and then, pull out a couple hundred or a couple thousand each month, depending on how many hours they need to pay for in-home care or home renovations so that they can age in place comfortably.
Any restrictions on what they can't use it for if they do pull it out?
No.
Or is it truly like a HELOC?
It's truly like a HELOC. So I joke that I can't regulate what they spend the money on. I just ask that they not go to Vegas and put it all on black. But I can't stop them. But
it would be a dangerous tool for an older gambler.
Yes, we don't want that.
We don't want that. So unexpected senior expenses, home modifications, we just talked about, medical equipment, caregiving, transportation, other costs to families that they may not anticipate. All those things can be used for that. So what about when planning for the crisis? What should seniors and families start exploring with their financial options? Why is waiting until a crisis a problem?
Right. So it is a loan. So we pull credit, we look at income and all of that. Even though there's no payment associated to the loan, it is a loan. And the lender wants to make sure that the homeowner, because they maintain ownership. A lot of people think that if they get a reverse mortgage, that the bank will own their house and they just live in it or something.
That's what I thought for a long time. Yeah.
So the deed stays in their name, meaning they own the property. So they have to maintain the property. They have to pay taxes and insurance. So the reason that we look at credit and income is because the lender wants to make sure that the homeowner can maintain their current lifestyle or expenses. And it's not just a quick Band-Aid and then things are going to spiral out of control and they're going to end up in tax sale or something like that. Because ultimately the bank wants to protect their collateral property. So
the bank truly doesn't want to own it in the end.
No. And the bank actually won't really ever own the house. So at the end of the day, what it ends up looking like is, so if we've got a husband and wife who get a reverse mortgage and one spouse passes away, repayment is not escalated because the loan was in both of their names and only one borrower no longer lives in the property. So repayment is only due when everybody no longer lives in the property.
Really?
So if husband and wife have a reverse mortgage and husband passes away, nothing happens. If and when the wife then passes away or the wife decides to sell the property, that's when the bank is going to say, okay, you had a reverse mortgage, you weren't making any payments on it, but the balance is due now. So if that has happened from the passing of both folks, they're going to reach out to the next of kin and reach out to the kids or something and say, mom and dad had a reverse mortgage. The house is worth X. Y is what is owed. Do you want to pay us back and keep the property? Or do you want to sell the property, pay us back, and then keep the difference? So the choice is up to
That's
the
actually
heirs.
really cool that they allow that to happen and not just step in and take.
The bank just wants to get their money back. They don't want the property. They're not in the business of owning real estate. They're a bank. They're in the business of lending money, getting,
No, that's great. I actually had no clue that they would do that. I thought that they would just take that, sell the property, and then take what was theirs after that. But it's nice to know that they go through the channels, I would say, next of kin and allowing them to make those financial steps.
And they give the family, really, they want their money back in about 6 months. But they will give the family extensions if, the real estate market is soft or something like that, or it has to go through probate. So they will work with the family for about a year, give or take.
That's actually good to know. Avoiding assisted living. Can accessing home equity help someone remain at home rather than moving into assisted living? And what does that look like in a real life situation? That's probably something that you've dealt with where someone doesn't want to move.
Right.
But,
Of course. Most of the time, that's everybody's wish is to remain at home. And so if we look at a scenario where we've got a single 85-year-old widow.
see them all the time.
Right. Yeah. Very common scenario.
Yep.
And so she's got a $400,000 home and she still owes $100,000 on her current mortgage. And so that payment might be $1,500 a month, including taxes and insurance and all that, which on a fixed income of Social Security and maybe a teacher's pension,
Right.
$1,500 is a lot when maybe your income is only $2,500 or something. So the way the reverse mortgage would work is we would pay off the existing mortgage with the reverse mortgage and eliminate that payment. So now, I mean, she still has to pay taxes and insurance, but she doesn't have the mortgage portion of that payment,
which is huge.
So call that $1,200.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how, I mean, so now we have an extra $1,200 a month to play with because now we don't have that mortgage payment, but also the reverse mortgage, after we pay off the existing mortgage, there would still be a little, meat on the bone to where there would still be additional cash flow from the reverse mortgage as well. So we would be able to eliminate the expense and give her a little bit of a cash cushion with the reverse mortgage and not have a mortgage payment associated to that.
I hope you guys are understanding all that because I do. And it's an incredible resource because that can change someone's life from either having to feel like they're stuck, having to go into assisted living and they don't want to, but finances are dictating that, that's the only option they think that they might have when really they can look at something like this and it can be a life changer. It really can.
Right. And I meet with a lot of folks who their whole goal in life is to pay off their house to give it to their kids when they die.
Yeah.
And
that should be the dream for most people, I would imagine.
But a lot of times the kids already have their own home.
Yeah.
They want mom and dad to be comfortable and live their best life in their last, 10 or 8 years.
Yep.
The kids are not always, some of the kids, but not all the kids are worried about inheriting that property.
Yeah.
They would much rather know that mom and dad are happy and safe and taking that trip to Italy or whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Reverse mortgage misconceptions. Let's talk about that for a second. The bank takes your house. So we covered that a little bit, but I think that's the biggest stigma that you probably hear when the term reverse mortgage.
Right. I mean, reverse mortgages have been around since the 80s, which
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and the government is involved, they're government insured. And so the biggest misconception is that the bank is going to own the house. And again, just to kind of reiterate, the bank is not in the business of owning real estate. They're in the business of lending money in and out. So that is the biggest misconception. But to put all the cards on the table, it is a bank, it is a business.
Yeah.
There is interest that accrues on the money that got borrowed.
Right.
So it's not free money.
Yeah.
So that's what the bank is in the business of
That
doing.
might be the other misconception is the fact that it becomes free money once you get it.
Right.
And, you're trying to use it and do the things you want with it. You do have to remember there's a backside to that loan.
Right. I mean, it can't be too good to be true or else it wouldn't be
Everybody
around.
would do it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
We may extend 50% of the property value.
Yeah.
So if your house is worth $400,000, the bank isn't going to give you $400,000 and
They're
wish you a
giving
Merry Christmas.
To something.
Give or take, depending
give or
on
take.
age.
Okay.
The percentage of equity that we can tap into is based on age, interest rate, and property value.
Okay.
So
Just can't be 99 looking really rough and wanting 200 and something thousand out of your $400,000 home because the chances of you paying that back are probably pretty slim at that age.
older someone is, the more money I can get them.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And there's no it's not medically related.
Right. So they're not looking at the heart attack that you might
Nope.
have had last week.
Yep. They're not, it has nothing to do with medical. It is
That is
age.
unbelievable. So that's new to me as well.
Yeah.
I never would have thought that.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. What about the kids? How do reverse mortgages affect the children and the heirs? We did touch base a little piece of that, but what happens to the home when the homeowner passes away or moves? Anything else you want to add to that with what the kids would have to maybe experience or go through or give the adult child what those steps would look like?
Right. So I normally try to get the kids involved because I want, again, all cards on the table. I want the kids to understand what mom and dad are doing so that when mom and dad pass away, the kids know that they're not getting a free house, that there is a mortgage tied to the property, and also to have the kids' blessing. I mean, I only get the kids involved if mom and dad say yes.
Right.
I don't get involved in the family dynamics.
That's right. If there is any.
Yes. But if the parents, if the borrowers want the kids involved, amen. Let's have a super detailed conversation with everybody involved. And then again, when the borrowers pass away or decide to sell, that's when the loan plus the interest gets paid back. So the legal term is called negative amortization.
Okay.
And that means the balance is growing versus going down, because normally when you've got a mortgage, you're making a payment and $50 of your payment might be going towards the principal and paying it down.
Right.
The rest is all going towards interest. So with a reverse mortgage, since no payment is being made, there's still interest accruing, again, because it is a bank and it is a business, and the bank is in the business of earning interest. The loan balance plus the interest that grew over time get paid back.
Right. Okay. Is your take on the way you do business with your company, is it kind of like a realtor where you do stay in touch with, even though the transactions between the bank and you make that transaction happen with the client, are you still keeping in touch with these clients and kind of know your clientele and stay with them through the process?
I do. Yes. I was working with a gentleman maybe a year and a half ago in Oldsmar, and it was it was not amazing, but what we did was amazing.
Yeah.
His home needed a ton of work. He was in there for about a year and a half with no running water.
Oh, wow.
He needed a roof because he needed insurance, but he couldn't get insurance because he needed a roof, like all this. So we were able to facilitate all of this with the reverse mortgage.
Yeah.
And I put him in touch with somebody I know that represents Medicare because he was uninsured. So we got him Medicare insurance. It was pretty cool. But he
changing his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we text all the time about the Rays and the Orioles.
Really?
So just yesterday he was texting me about how strong the Orioles are against the Rays. And it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because, you don't have to with your job. You can make that connection happen and make something happen for someone, but you don't have to stay with them through that journey. So it's cool that you do. And I think that says a lot about who you are and what your business is based on, the values.
I worked with a lady in Philadelphia. She was in a condo and she was 98, I think, when we did the reverse mortgage, and she just passed away at 104.
Oh my.
And her daughter lives in Hawaii.
Oh,
and so this was back when I lived in Pennsylvania. So, I was much closer to mom than she was being in Hawaii. And so I would go in and check on her every now and then and text the daughter in Hawaii. And so the daughter, when mom passed away, maybe 2 months ago, the daughter flew over from Hawaii to take care of the house and get it sold and all that. And she called me to let me know. And I walked her through the whole process on what to do and how to, list the property and the logistics. And so maybe a month ago, a box of like Hawaiian chocolates arrived at my house here in like a refrigerated cooler, because she knew that I'm in Florida now and that they would melt if I didn't answer the door. But so I stayed connected to the clients and their daughters.
What a cool story.
Yeah.
And that's so worth it, right? Because it becomes a funnel of future business and the way people talk about you. And I think that the business owners that tend to do the right thing always have that internal need to want to stay with and see the fruits of the labor, so to speak, even though you don't have to. But that says a lot about your business. So I appreciate that. My closing question is, if a senior has substantial equity, but is struggling with just cash flow, what should their first step be?
So there's a multitude of different options with a reverse mortgage. So from beginning to end, which this isn't really going to answer your question, but I do want to deliver the information.
Yeah.
So when somebody wants to get a reverse mortgage, they have a conversation with me or another reverse mortgage professional and see what their options are. The next step is any customer, homeowner, borrower, whatever you want to call them, who wants to get a reverse mortgage, they have to go through a third-party reverse mortgage telephone counseling session.
Really?
So that,
to know.
Yes. So that is to make sure I've done my job and educated the consumer.
Yeah.
That nobody's trying to coerce them.
Yeah.
Being me or a family member.
Yep.
And to make sure that they have all of their faculties and that they're not on a mental decline to where they can't make their own financial decisions.
Yeah.
So that's mandatory.
That's actually really good.
Yeah.
They do that.
And we get a certificate and a certificate number, and it's logged in the database, and we can't really do much without that.
Okay.
So then once we have that and they've passed the counseling, it's about 30, 40 minutes. They go over financial questions. They go over the reverse mortgage, like financial comparison, basically.
Right.
And then the cognitive questions. And then we do a loan application. And then that's when I gather the income and credit report and things of that nature. we have an appraisal done, because if we don't know what the property value is, we don't know the percentage that we can lend.
Yep.
And then we send everything to the lender for them to review it. They approve it, and then we go to closing. So the whole thing takes 30 to 45 days, depending on how quickly everybody's moving.
Yeah.
If there's an emergency and everybody's moving very quickly, we can do it in 2 to 3 weeks.
Yep.
I don't
actually not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
pretty
try to
good.
rush it because I don't want everybody to get nervous about why we're trying to rush it.
Right.
But if we need to, we can. And then with the layout of the reverse mortgage, there's a couple of different options where we can do a lump sum disbursement, which we've done in an example was I worked with a gentleman on Indian Rocks Beach. He had a home. It was maybe 1.3 million with no mortgage. And so we did the reverse mortgage, pulled out around 600,000. He took that 600,000 and then bought an investment property. So now he lives in his home with no mortgage. And then he bought an investment property with no mortgage. And then that investment property is now a stream of income. So that's one case scenario.
Yeah. It's an interesting way to use it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think about investment purposes.
Right. Because the funds that you receive from a reverse mortgage, it's not considered income. So you don't have to pay taxes on it.
Right.
Income taxes. And it doesn't interfere with Social Security or Medicare or anything like that because it's not income.
Right.
So it's tax-free funds. But then another scenario is where we put the money in the line of credit. And so if it's in the line of credit and no one has pulled it out yet, it's not considered debt on the property yet.
Okay.
So if it's just sitting in the line of credit, it doesn't have to be repaid because it was never borrowed.
Okay.
And then another option is a monthly distribution.
Yeah.
So we can set the reverse mortgage up. Maybe somebody knows specifically they need
this is what they need.
$1,100 a month.
Yeah.
We can set that up, assuming there's enough equity in the property, to set up an $1,100 a month disbursement to them automatically. They don't have to think about it. It just goes straight into their bank account on a monthly basis.
And anything about the payback? Can they do a payback at any time?
Yeah.
Any restrictions?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's no prepayment penalty.
Okay.
So they can pay or pay down the loan whenever they would like. Yeah.
Okay.
So some people will, because I mentioned there's interest accruing, some people will make a payment to keep the interest at bay.
Right.
Or, if they win the lottery and they want to pay it off, they can.
Pay it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they can pay it down or pay it off whenever they would like with no penalty.
Well, cool. Well, tell everybody before we close up here how they can get in touch with you, phone number, email, website, whatever you want.
Sure. So again, my name is Keely Maglaughlin and I own Advent Financial and I specialize in reverse mortgages only. So I only do reverse mortgages for maybe the last 12 or 13 years. And my phone number, best way is really my cell phone. So it's 410-688-835. So it's a cell. You can call or text. And then my email address is Keely, Keely, at adventfen.com.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, guys. All right. If you're ever in need of a reverse mortgage, or maybe you know somebody, or you're going to work with somebody who would benefit from a reverse mortgage, now you know all the details on what to look for a referral for Keely.
Right.
All right. Until next time, guys, I appreciate you watching Chad the Homecare Guy podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and tell all your friends about it so that we can get this information out to everybody that needs to see this. All right. This is good stuff. All right. We're changing lives, guys. One interview at a time, and I appreciate you being on for this. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks for
so much.
me.
All right, guys. We'll see you.